Hi guys, hope you guys are good. So in today's video, what we'll be doing is a weekly outlook, alright? Where we'll do an in-depth video analysis on the DXY as well as GBPUSD to give us an understanding of what we can anticipate in this week's worth of trading. Another thing we need to keep in mind is that on Friday, which will be the 3rd of May, we are anticipating a lot of high impact news releases, right? For example, the NFP as well as the unemployment rates, right? So this week, in its own nature, tends to be very different from the other trading weeks. And what I mean by that is this. The price action in this week tends to be at times very accumulative or very manipulative in its own nature. And all of this is because of the fact that, you know, we'll be anticipating the high impact news on Friday. So this week tends to be like that due to the fact that, we're anticipating high impact news. So to give you guys an understanding of what exactly I mean by accumulative and very manipulative, what I mean is, let's say, for example, you're looking to take a certain trade in uh, some intended direction, right? In this week, at times, especially if you're a day trader, you'll enter your trade, and one of these two things will occur. Either you enter your trade and the market just accumulates, right? And at the end of the day, you close off either a bit in loss or break even, or maybe you price pushed like 1 hour, right? And you made 1 hour, and there's not much volatility that stepped in on that day, or price just manipulates you out of the move and then continues heavy in the intended direction, right? So that's the type of narrative that tends to occur. If you're a day trader, you tend to see this a lot, right? Doesn't always happen all the time, but the first week, the NFP week tends to be like that, right? To give you guys an example, another example of what I mean, today I did release this idea of seeing a continuation, right, of last week's bullish draw. I've been seeing the market having to draw all the way up there. We will talk about that. And I was seeing price having to test the breaker and then continue higher. And you can see it did respect, although price did go in my intended direction, I did take a few L's, right? I took about 2 L's and then I was done for the day. So the market just basically accumulated for a while and then manipulated me out and then heavy movement to the buy side, right? So that's what I mean by this week tends to be very different in nature. So before we get into it, for you guys on YouTube, I'd appreciate it if you do happen to find this information very valuable, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. And I'd also appreciate if you subscribe to my TradingView platform, my profile as well, due to the fact that I do release daily updates or daily ideas that I'm looking to, trades that I'm looking to participate on that specific day. So it would be very valuable to you if you'd follow me as well on TradingView. But with that being said, let's get into it, right? So I won't do so much of an in-depth video analysis on the DXY. If you do need that information, please do watch my video that I did last week. I think it was the 22nd of April. You will find that video. It's also a weekly outlook video, so we'll talk about all of those things, right? But just to give you guys an idea, we can see that at some point we got a movement lower as to take these sell stops over here. Smart money bought against these sell stops, and then we got a break of structure over there. So that's where the daily time frame became entirely bullish, right? And this was just a retracement all the way down into discount prices as to continue the move higher. So my long-term draw is this point over here. We have these relatively equal highs, right? Which automatically gives us the idea that there's a large amount of liquidity resting at that point. So we'd like to eventually see the market draw to that point as to give us a break of structure. So we see that we set this low over here. Price gave us a market structure shift, indicating that we continue the bullish institutional order flow. The market breaks this high over here, takes the buy stops. We see smart money distribute the market lower as to push it into a discount price, right? So we see the market, if we're marking that intermediate term high and this intermediate term low, the market, they distribute it from a premium price into a discount price where they take profits, and then they accumulate new buy orders against these sell stops. So we see a heavy movement higher as to reach the buy stops over here. At this point, they accumulate. They don't accumulate, they distribute. To distribute is to sell. So they sell against these sell stops, these buy stops, push the market into a breaker, right? In which at this point they mitigate the sell orders that they had initiated off of that point. They mitigate those sell orders and they initiate new buying orders, right? So this becomes a very important point and a institutional support uh, point of reference, if I may, right? So that's why this point is respected so many times. So you see a heavy, movement of price as to reach these buy stops, as well as this daily bearish order block, right? And then at the moment, we see this accumulation in price into this daily fair value gap, right? So about 2 weeks ago, when price was still trading over here, I released a video mentioning that we draw into this daily bearish order block, and then we'd see one of three things that may occur. The first thing would be we either pull back into a fair value gap and respect it, and currently that's what's currently occurring. And then the second thing is we'd either see a accumulation of price, and it's clear that price is accumulating due to the fact that from the 17th until today we've just been ranging up and down in this portion of price action. And then the third thing that I spoke about would be a movement lower as to reach this mitigation block, as to mitigate the sell orders, right? That smart money had initiated to push the market lower, right? So I did speak about this on my video last week, Thursday, that there is a likelihood that we may push down here, but it's a likelihood, right? And at the moment, I'm seeing that price is very accumulative, and the fact that we are respecting this daily fair value gap, although we're wicking below it, we're getting body closes above that point, right? So it's clear that we are respecting the fair value gap, and there is a likelihood that we're just accumulating to continue the market higher, right? To reach our long-term objective over there. So I'm not saying that to debunk the fact that we may draw all the way down here. I'm not saying that that idea is null and void. I'm just saying that, especially due to the fact that we are in the NFP week, there's just a likelihood that we may just continue consolidating. And then Friday comes and we see a heavy, movement higher as to reach our higher time frame objective, right? And if we do come all the way down into our mitigation block, then of course the draw is always to the upside, right? We've seen countless evidence that that is our long-term draw, right? So either whatever happens, our draw is to the upside. So let's further investigate all of this on the 4H time frame. Okay, cool. So there are multiple things happening on the 4H time frame, right? Notably, we're seeing that price is taking sell stops, and then you see a heavy movement into premium prices, right? And then you see a heavy movement into sell stops. Right after sell stops get taken, then you see a heavy retracement, right, into premium prices. And this is very, you know, critical due to the fact that consolidations tend to move in this manner, where you see a heavy movement to discount, and you see a heavy movement or retracement into premium, right? So what's happening here is there's a likelihood that the market has just been consolidating, and it's clear we've been doing so since the 16th until today. The market has just been moving up and down, right? And this gives us an idea that smart money is actively, you know, keeping price at a premium and forcing us to buy at a premium, because for so long we've been stuck in premium prices, right? And that's just giving us an idea that they are forcing traders to buy at the premium so that they can buy against the traders, because it's clear if you're buying this, your stop losses are going to be at the lows, right? So they push the market your stop losses will be seen as sell stops, right? So they push the market to reach the sell stops, and then they auto pay against those sell stops. So that's why you're seeing heavy movements to the upside. They're scaling in their positions against these sell stops. So there is a likelihood that right here, you may see, maybe you see a movement lower against these sell stops over here, then you just see a heavy movement higher. It could just be likely that they're just taking the sell stops, right? Scaling in their orders, and then by Friday, you'll just see a heavy movement of the market higher to reach, our objective all the way up there. So I am seeing the idea that they're just keeping at a premium. They're accumulating at a premium. And another thing you can take note of is look at that. You can see that at this point, you know, retail patterns such as trend lines are being respected. So what smart money tends to do is when they're trying to accumulate money, liquidity, right? What they'll do is they'll engineer liquidity. They'll basically give you a false pattern, right? You'll see a nice trend line, and what happens on trend lines is these touches and these support and resistances, all that happens here is that traders sell this, right? They sell this, you get another touch, they sell it. What's happening on the buy side end of things is you're seeing a heavy accumulation of buy side liquidity. So there's going to be loads of buy side liquidity resting up here. All right. And isn't it interesting how they don't push the market higher to take the buy stops the way they're doing with the sell stops? They're leaving those points over there. Right. And in fact, on the sell side end of things, they're manipulating the sell stops, and then you're seeing heavy movements higher. My bad. They manipulated countless times, and then you see the movement higher, but the trend line is being respected. That seems very, you know, I don't know. It seems very odd, right? So for me, I'm seeing this as them just engineering liquidity, engineering enough liquidity to buy against, right? Not necessarily to buy against, but to absorb, right? So all of the liquidity resting above this point is eventually just going to be absorbed, right? And another thing we can look into that will give you guys an idea of what I mean by they keeping the price at a premium. All right. We understand that GBPUSD and the DXY should, you know, move symmetrically. So we're looking at smart money divergence. All right. I want to note this low over here. All right. That low over there, if we're going to be looking at this as a mirror, it's going to be the exact opposite. So you want to see symmetry, right? So it's this high over here, right? Now look at this. Price at this point has been pushing higher on GBPUSD and was so close to taking this point up here, the buy stops resting up there, and these buy stops are in premium, right? And that's essentially what I've been trading this for the past week and looking to trade today. I will talk through that. I've been seeing the market wanting to draw into premium prices as to reach the buy stops resting up here, and there's also a weekly order block that I'd like to see the market draw into in GBPUSD. You'll see that when we get into it. But note this, we are currently in premium prices on GBPUSD, and there's a likelihood that we're taking the premium price or these buy stops that are resting up there. However, on the DXY, although these two are supposed to be symmetrical in nature, on the DXY have been accumulating. In nature, if this was a symmetrical market condition, we would have wanted to see the DXY trading all the way down here, right? But instead, that's not what's happening. So it's becoming a bit clear to me that they're keeping the DXY, the dollar in premium prices, forcing us to buy it at a premium to just continue the market higher, right? Whereas on GBPUSD, you're seeing the market is continuing higher, and what you're going to see eventually is we may take these buy stops, right? The premium buy stops. Whereas here, we will most likely just take these sell stops, but not take that, and this will potentially be a non-symmetrical market condition. And all that will suggest to us is that you just want to anticipate a reversal on GBPUSD to push the market lower, and here you just see a movement higher, right? A reversal of this move to continue higher. But with that being said, let's go into GBPUSD to see what I'm anticipating over there. So on the weekly time frame on GBPUSD, for the past week, I've been talking about wanting to see the market draw all the way up here to our weekly bearish order block. And the reason for this is because right after these up close candles, we got these heavy down close candles, right? And what that tends to do is it leaves a liquidity void. And how the market tends to move is liquidity voids tend to get filled, all right? You'll see over here, we filled this liquidity void. This was the last down close candle. Then right after that, you just got bullish candles. So in future, you saw how the market came all the way down here and filled that liquidity void by tapping into that bullish order block. And then you see this heavy movement to the upside. So I'm anticipating the same thing to occur over there. So that's my current draw on liquidity, right? With that being said, let's look at the daily time frame. So of course on the daily, we are in this monthly fair value gap. We also took these sell stops over here. And in reaction to that, we saw that the market pushed higher, right? Gave us a market structure shift here, giving us an idea that the internal price action is currently bullish at the moment, right? So the buy stops get taken. Friday's trading pushed all the way into this bullish candle over here. This is considered as a breaker, right? So at this point, they sold, right? They sold this candle to push the market lower. It broke that low over there. So when the market trades above that point, the sell orders that are still in here are currently at loss. So they push the market back into that, mitigate the sell orders, and reinstate new buying orders. So that's why today's trading was just bullish, right? That's how you see. That's why we saw heavy movements to the upside. Another thing as well that we could see price draw all the way up there is the fair value gap, right? And we can also see that these last bullish candles over here, possibly price could push into that, but the weekly bearish order block is what I am anticipating price having to push into, right? But with that being said, let's look at the H4. Okay, cool. So Friday's trading came into the breaker over here. And then today's trading, what I was seeing is we saw price take buy stops over here, price pulled back into a fair value gap. So what I was anticipating was for the market to continue higher. And of course, that occurred over there as to reach these premium buy stops over here. And then eventually our weekly bearish order block, right? And that's what I was anticipating in price, right? We took the buy stops, we pulled back into our fair value gap. I took a buy over here, and then of course this is the candle that took me out, and then we started to see a heavy movement to the upside. So what I'm seeing currently in this week is having to see the GBP USD reach these buy stops, and then eventually the weekly bearish order block, and then potentially we can then see a potential reversal to continue the market lower as to reach our sell stops over there, and then eventually this point down here, which is our ultimate draw on liquidity. Not sure if I showed you guys on the daily time frame, which is those monthly sell stops over there. All right. So on the hourly time frame, since last week, all I've been anticipating is a draw all the way up there. Let me just give you guys context for what I am talking about. I think this is it. So this was last week's trading. No, that's not the one, but that is part of the draw. I think this is the move that I took all the way down there. This is the narrative that I was trading today. So last week we took the buy stops, price came back, the breaker is over here, and then this is the continuation. So I'd like to see the H4 buy stops get taken, and then eventually the weekly bearish order block. So then, like I said, once we reach that point over there, then we can possibly look into selling, right? So there's a possibility that NFP we could reach there, and then we see heavy selling to the downside. I will give you guys updates if I'm seeing potentially a move higher, but I don't think that's likely. But you know, anything can happen. But with that being said, best regards. the architect.